Okay. All right. Good morning, stewards. We are here with Lisa Tucker of the Graceful Abandon blog. And like many of the people that I love and respect, I met Lisa in Tribe. And so, I love my fellow tribers. But I especially love Lisa because we kind of have the same heart. She is so biblically grounded and scripturally sound. And, I don't worry about her doctrine or her theology. And so I have just such explicit trust to just kind of hand those of you over to her who need to be over where she is. And so Lisa, her blog is Graceful Abandon, and over there she talks about marriage and motherhood and homemaking and faith. And so I know that she actually has another blog as well, which I embarrassingly don't know anything about. So I'm going to give her a minute to introduce herself and share whatever she wants to share about her business and her purpose. And then we're going to jump into all things blogging and then maybe a little bit of Pinterest because she knows all the things and does them well. Lisa?
So it's such an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Heather. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to the stewards. I started blogging back when I had 2 kids. I'm a mom of 8, so it was a long time ago for me. And it was back on Blogspot before blogging was really a thing. And it was just a way to connect and kind of share your heart. And it was a creative outlet for me. Several years later, God put it on our hearts to adopt. And my blog actually helped create a network that allowed us to adopt debt-free. That was a huge blessing. And that was when I began to understand that blogging could be profitable as well as passionate. And my husband encouraged me to pursue it. But at that time, we didn't really have the time resources available for me to do that because we went from 2 to 3 kids and then from 3 to 6 in 11 months because we adopted 2 more kids this time with special needs. And, that was transitions and medical things. And my blog kind of sat there in the background. What was funny, and this is kind of what really sold me on blogging, was I had written 2 very well-researched posts, and they continued to generate traffic even in my absence. And I began to understand a little bit about the power of optimizing posts for Google. I had also been a beta tester for Pinterest back when it was invitation only.
Wow.
I remember Crystal Payne messaging me and saying, "Hey girl, I'm trying out this thing called Pinterest. Do you want an invitation?" And I was like, "Absolutely. Let's check it out." And I had some pins up there for those posts. And lo and behold, I come back to my blog with this idea of starting a business. And I already had 1,200 page views a month from these 2 posts that had been well researched and put on Pinterest, even though I had been gone for 3 years. And that for me was like a seed that God used to go, I could do something with this if you give it to me. That's what I really felt like he was saying. And my husband said to me, "Hun, we're called to be missionaries. We're called to go to the mission field. What if God wanted to use your writing, specifically through your blog, to help fund us and our ability to do that?" And so that was the start of Graceful Abandon. Since then, Graceful Abandon that year went from 1,200 page views a month to over 100,000 page views from March to December.
Oh my gosh. So in 9 months.
Yeah, it was an insane journey for me. But lots of people like to talk about those quick 9-month transformations, but nobody likes to talk about the fact that it was 8 years old at that point, and that I had been reading and kind of learning in the margins of my life and picking up tips here and there. And so anybody who's blogging and going, I've been blogging for more than 9 months and I'm not there, I had a lot of things working for me. I had 2 solid posts that had aged well with Google. I had the authority of having an 8-year-old blog. So I was able to bring my DA quickly from a 19 to a 31 with just some targeted focused efforts. But it took me over a year to go from an 11 to a 19 with my domain authority.
Okay, I want to interrupt you just briefly because I don't understand what you just said.
Okay, so domain authority is an arbitrary number created by Moz. Ahrefs, SEMrush, they all have their own ranking system where they give your blog authority, and it's a combination of the number of people that link to it, external links, the number of links you have within your site, because that's a way to boost your authority, the traffic that you have. It's just kind of an overall metric to rate your site. So if you have a brand new blog today, like my new site, Coffee and Keyboard, it has a domain authority of 4. It's a baby. It's still gaining traction. And this matters when you start to pursue more competitive terms. It is easier for somebody with a higher domain authority to rank for a new term than it is for someone with a lower domain authority.
Okay.
Because Google already likes, knows, and trusts them.
So what's the highest DA score you can get?
It's 100. Okay. But really most bloggers have really struggled to get past like a 40.
Okay.
Like for instance, Wikipedia's, I think it's a 99 and YouTube's 100. So, you know, it's much easier to go from 10 to 20 than it is from 30 to 40 or 60 to 70 because it gets harder and more competitive.
Sure.
So, you know, as I share these things, like 9 months to go from 1,200 page views to 100,000, I already had an understanding of blogging tactics. Once I did that, God opened some amazing doors in our personal lives for me to connect with other bloggers. And a couple of them said, hey, could you help me grow too? And they hired me to be their coach. And I started working with them and we were able to reproduce those results for their blogs as well. And I thought, okay, we're on to something. And I bought a second blog that a mom was getting rid of that, you know, I think I had 5,000 page views a month. Now we're at about 50. And that's just working, you know, a couple hours a week on it. And so blogging, the potential for blogging became very real to me. But what I did learn is there are all these people selling all of these expensive courses, but you know, you buy something like EBA and then you still have to buy more in-depth courses because what it ends up doing is showing you what you don't know, which is valuable. And for me, that missing link was SEO and Pinterest. That was where I decided to deep dive to find my audience and build my tribe. And then of course, your email list grows, you have products and you sell to your list, but everyone says you need the list, but nobody tells you how to find the list. So for me, I decided to target keywords on Google that were really important to me to reach my ideal audience and then also do the same on Pinterest.
So you primarily built your list through keyword optimization through your blog and Pinterest then?
Yes.
Okay.
And not primarily, exclusively. That is the only, that is it. Yeah.
No social media.
No, I didn't even start my Facebook page. I mean, I had it, like I reserved my names, but I never used it because personally, I was trying to stay off of social media to be more present as a mom.
Sure.
And so I was only blogging like 2 or 3 hours a night. My husband worked night shift, so I'd put the kids to bed and I would write until I was tired and then I would do my devotions and go to bed.
Well, Jennifer says she's been blogging for 5 years, but she still doesn't know how to make it work. She did join. I know that she joined your coffee and keyboard group already, though, because like I messaged her and I said, Jennifer, you got to go join Lisa's group because she can help you way better than I can. Oh gosh. Okay. That's fantastic. How big is your email list now?
I just called it back down to 5,000. I try to keep it really engaged. I think I was up to like 9.
Wow.
I find I like my open rates to stay around 40%. So if it drops too low from there, I know I've either attracted the wrong people or they've kind of gotten tired and don't open my emails anymore. So I purge it down.
Okay. So your open rates stay around 40%?
Anywhere from 35 to 40, depending upon the broadcast and the title.
Which is practically double the industry averages right now.
Yeah, 20 is acceptable. My clients, I tell them anything below 30, we have to work on your strategies. I don't accept that.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm guessing, I know that you, and I'm a little off track here because of everything that you've shared. I had this list of questions, but you're sharing all this amazing stuff. And I know that you do have a group coaching type of product coming for bloggers. I'm assuming these are all things you're going to cover in that group coaching, how to make sure that your email list is engaged and how to use SEO and Pinterest exclusively to grow it and not be dependent on social media. I mean, because, you know, I haven't always observed Lent. I'm an off and on kind of person with that, quite frankly. But I was like, you know, I really wish I could give up social media for Lent this year. I just do, but I can't. I legitimately can't because of what I do with my business and how much it depends on it. And some things that I do for other businesses that depend on it. I've tried to figure out, can I do some kind of hybrid? So like I'm sitting here going, she did all that without social media. I'm amazed.
Well, and see, here's my caveat with that. For Coffee and Keyboard, it requires me. Like I am the face and the voice of my business and it won't function without my engagement. So if I checked out for 40 days from that, it would fall apart as far as that engagement goes. But graceful abandon, the moments at home, those I can actually automate using apps if I want to and just give my readers a heads up. However, what I do instead is I go on 20 minutes a day. I just set a timer. Here is my 20 minutes. I show up and I'm out.
Okay. Yeah, Jennifer said her open rate is around 16% for February. So
that means your readers either don't know what to expect from you, or you're not resonating with the people who are signing up for your list because you're either attracting the wrong people or you don't know how to show them how awesome you are.
Well, and this is why I know she needs you, because she and I have been working on trying to get her open rates up, and I don't want to put all her stuff out there. Like, that's for another time. There are some factors that have led into it that she just kind of got into check tech wise. But yeah. So anyway, I'm blown away by your open rates. That's astounding. Gosh, I feel like I want to rabbit trail down everything you said, but I do want to bring it back in a little bit because I do think, these questions that I had for you ahead of time are important. And so the other day, I obviously joined Lisa's group. Not that I am blogging right now, but I like to vet everything. And even though I already trusted Lisa, I wanted to hear what she was saying. I wanted to hear what she was teaching, because that's what I do. I listen to everybody's stuff before I start to, full bore advocate for them or recommend them. And so she did a live the other day, and she had everybody on the live do an exercise that I loved because she was talking about systems and strategy and productivity, right? Primarily systems and productivity. And the exercise was that we all had to write down all of the different roles that we have, right? So for me, that meant Christian, wife, mom of grown children, apologetics / wannabe author / speaker, business coach, and right now student for another 9.5 weeks. And so to write down every single role that you have, right? And then look at whether or not your time allocation actually reflects your values. Like, if you are following Christ, right? As women who follow Christ and who are wives and moms, we have a responsibility. We're called, right? We're called to put God first. And then we're called to put our marriage after that. And we're called to, raise our children in a way that honors God, that teaches them the word. There's a lot of responsibilities in there. And so if we're committed to Christ, then Christian wife, mom better be our first three, right?
Right, so absolutely.
Like, there's really not any negotiation on that if you're really truly committed to Christ. But beyond that, you have different priorities and different seasons, and beyond that, you got to kind of figure out where your priorities are. But I know that, especially for those of us that are entrepreneurs, we're not all type A, but a lot of us are. We're not all super driven, but a lot of us are. A lot of us chase squirrels. A lot of us have 500 ideas and don't know which one to focus on, or which one to focus on first. And so a lot of times, even though we, in our head and in our heart, we want to be Christian wife, mom, and then these other things, it's very easy to get caught up in the hustle and the grind mentality, in the believing the lie that it all depends on you, because it doesn't. And I think Lisa's story is so reflective of that, because she didn't even get into this looking to be a blogging coach or looking to support their mission work through her blog. That's where it ended up. Like, that's the road that God took her on. And so while there's all kinds of wisdom and best practices and things that we can learn, even from people who don't hold our value system, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, it matters where our priorities are, because God can overcome the rest of that, right? And so we do want to act wisely, but all of our efforts, if we do everything right, according to all the wisdom that there is out there, even if we follow certain aspects of scripture, but not others, right? It doesn't matter what we do. We're not going to find fruitfulness in that, because we're not in alignment with God's priorities, right? Now, I'm not saying you can't find success outside of God. I think that the enemy uses that all the time as a tool to keep us distracted from God, because if you're succeeding without him, you don't need him. But I don't think that's any of us in here. We're all aware of where we're supposed to be and who we're supposed to be following. So anyway, I went off on a rabbit trail again there. Sorry. But but this exercise was fantastic because if you're honestly reflecting on where you're spending your time and how it lines up with the different roles in your life, it's really eye-opening, right? And so I loved that exercise. Now, another thing that Lisa talked about it was kind of new to me actually, because, we've talked about productivity before in the mastermind that I'm in. We talk about it a lot because we all have our different ways that we're productive, and we're constantly bouncing off each other for that when one of us struggles. But Lisa talked about having different productivity styles and how somebody else's means and methods and process of being productive might not work for you if that's not your productivity style. And I have not heard anybody else ever talk about that. So could you just talk to us a little bit about that and how that relates to blogging and blogging systems specifically as well?
I think if you're a mom, you've probably already bumped into this idea if you have more than one child, because you see that your kids react differently to the same homework assignment or to the same chore. Like, go clean your room for one kid means play with every single toy as you journey it to its final destination, where the other kid is like, oh my gosh, let me just shove it all in the closet and close the door, because if you can't see it, it's clean, right? Or, if you have a sibling or you have had a college roommate, you recognize at some point in time, I'm not like everybody else, and everybody has their own unique approach. When I started coaching my clients, like, if you're given a to-do list, how does it make you feel? And some would say empowered, motivated, and others would go overwhelmed. Do not give me a list. And I was like, okay, so this is kind of the same as homeschooling. 8 children, I have to learn their learning styles to teach them the best way. It was the same with my clients. And what I bumped into was the understanding that there are 4 basic types. And of course, everybody has a primary and a secondary type. But truly, you could break it down even further, or more broadly, rather, into just 2. You have your very linear people, and then you have your rainbow artistic visual type people. And I'm actually a hybrid of both. So I have this to-do list over here that is completely color-coded. And then I have this one over here that is a very linear list. And I need both of those. And the freeing thing for me as an entrepreneur was understanding that I didn't need to find someone else's system. I needed to figure out what my system was and empower myself to work within it without guilt or comparison traps. And my goal for my clients was to help them do the same. And because I know that you're not a huge MBTI fan, and I agree that every personality assessment has its flaws. But one of the things about my innate personality type, I'm a choleric, and choleric temperaments are viewed to be extroverts, but I'm incredibly introverted. I need my downtime to refresh, to reflect, to assess. But I love to have a meaningful one-on-one conversation with someone, which is really life-giving for me. So coaching one-to-one is great, even in a small group. But in a big group like Tribe, I would often come out of the group and go, oh my goodness, I need a break. And what I have learned about myself is that halts my progress, that slows my momentum. I do not find that energizing or motivating. So as an entrepreneur, I would time engagements like that for the end of my business day. And so I began to learn how to kind of productivity hack my own learning style and my own productivity style. And that's what we miss. We go, okay, that person is getting it done. And she makes a list every morning over her coffee, and she checks it off one by one. And I'm going to do that. But if you're easily inspired, yes, you have to have the self-discipline not to chase every shiny opportunity to become passionate about something. But you also have to flow with that, because if you're inspired every afternoon, that's when you create your products. That's when you do your live videos. That's when you write your content. If you are low energy at the end of the day because you're an introvert and you've peopled all blessed day long and you just want to curl up and die because you can't people one more moment, that's not when you go into a busy group. It's not when you schedule a coaching call with a client. It's not when you go onto Instagram and respond to all your DMs. That's when you create your graphics. That's when you write to your email list, because it's a solo pursuit. So it's really important to understand the rhythms of your day, your own styles and the things that I use the phrase life-giving, because some things are life-draining and other things are life-giving. And so I like to start my day with things that are life-giving, end my day with the things that drain me, and then do something that refreshes me so that I can go be fully present with my family.
That is awesome. And I can't believe nobody else is saying it anywhere. At least, I mean, I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it anywhere else but from
We're
you.
not saying it because that means I can't sell you my solution. Very simply, I can't package it up and give it to you and say, if you do this, it will work for you no matter what.
Right. Because I think there is such a thing as replicatable systems. And I think you would even, I think from some things I've heard you say, it is important to have systems that are replicatable. You need that. But there's no, it's almost like, and when you said that about homeschool, like a light bulb went off for me, because it's exactly like that. It's exactly like every program you buy, and some of them are great, right? Like I love Tribe, I love Moola. But you're right. It's still, here's the approach, here's the system, here's what you do. And it's cookie cutter. And when you're producing something like that for tons of people, you can't really take into consideration the fact that not everybody has that style. You can't really work that in. That is like a one-on-one kind of thing that somebody needs to figure out. But like, if you're like me, maybe even if you're not like me, you're in this class and you're following it and you see these systems and you're like, but I'm doing that. Why isn't it working? Mm-hmm. And it could be exactly what you're talking about. Because like, as you were talking, I was like, man, I'm going to tell you what sucks the life out of me is the graphic content creation. It sucks the life out of me. And oh my gosh, the only way I've been able to make myself do it, it was thankfully, it's an idea that somebody else had. Implemented in the membership, where one of the things that we do is we have 2 work blocks a month where people show up, we're on Zoom, and we're not talking, we're muted, but we're there because we have that thing that's the hardest for us to do. We go and we do it during that time so that it gets done. We don't have any excuse. We were accountable and we have to ask each other about it. You know what I mean?
And that's actually a part of your productivity personality. You are motivated more by external deadlines than internal deadlines.
Totally. Internal deadlines.
Understanding that, so understanding that you then create opportunities to be externally accountable for the jobs that you don't like. And that is part of your productivity personality. And that's the program I'm working on helping everybody understand, because here's the other thing. We don't get to just do what we're good at and what we like. We have to do the stuff that stinks, that we don't enjoy, right? I hate passionately Instagram. But I'm learning that my people love to connect with me there. So how have I made it doable? Well, I actually plan it out ahead of time. So I'm just engaging. I can respond. I don't like the challenge of being tied to my phone all day. So I actually plan out what I'm going to post and when. All those Instagram TV videos, those are recorded in advance and released on a schedule. And that makes it doable for me. That allows it to work within my value system of my kids not seeing me put my life out on social media. That's important to me. Other people who are cool with it and it works for them, they don't have to do that. They don't need that discipline to do that. There are people that I talk to, and I don't understand it, but they love creating Pinterest graphics. I do not at all. So I created a template pack. And I drop all my things into that template pack and I'm done. And usually I create them while listening to an audiobook. It's kind of like my candy, if you will. Like, here, you can listen to your favorite audiobook if you create graphics right now. But that was me hacking my productivity. I was, holding back, putting out new content at the speed that I knew I was capable of putting it out on Pinterest, simply because I didn't enjoy doing it, even though I knew it affected my bottom line. So I was like, okay, what would make this appealing for me? And that's important that we ask that, because we don't do the things that don't appeal to us. I don't like vegetables, cooked vegetables, so I don't make them, right? But I do like salad. So it would be silly of me to only buy vegetables that I have to cook and go, you need to eat this, instead of saying, hey, here's all the fresh vegetables, throw them in a bowl and eat them, right?
Yeah.
It's silly, because nobody would say you have to eat them cooked. It's just eat something healthy. Well, with our business, no one's telling you have to follow this exact system. They're saying if you want results, here are the activities you need to do, but there's a million ways to get those activities done. You have to find your system.
It kind of goes back to I don't know if you ever read the book. It was very popular in corporate circles for a while, and now I'm starting to hear gurus talk about it again. But it was probably, I don't know, maybe 12 years ago, Strength Finders, and then there was Strength
No,
Finders
I don't know that one.
2.0.
I'll check it out. Okay.
But anyway, their thing was that we spend so much time, and our society has taught us that we have to like conquer our weaknesses and turn our weaknesses into our strengths. And like, no, they're like, no, you need to play to your strengths and manage your weaknesses. Right. And that's what I'm hearing you say. And so that makes a lot of sense to me, because I think that's just realistic. I think it's practical. I think we have this very skewed perception of the way we do things, and success, however you define that, entrepreneurship, it doesn't have to look the same for all of us. And so I have to ask you, this program that you're doing, is it going to be for anybody, or is it just for bloggers?
The specific examples that I'll give will be for bloggers, but any solopreneur, this will not be applicable for people who like sell Mary Kay or Avon or Plexus.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I love it. I take Plexus. I use my MLM makeup, or at least I used to when I lived in the States, whatever, but the principles won't build their business.
Right.
But if you are working from home, if you are trying to become more motivated and you want to understand, we're going to talk first and foremost about creating a values-driven business, because that is my passion. My value is missionary, yes, but also more importantly, even than that, is my one-on-one walk with God, my husband, and my children. So my business comes fifth in my list of priorities. Okay. And a lot of people go, how is that possible? Because you spend so much time on it. Well, yes, I do, but it has its place and it has its boundaries. And when I walk away, I walk away. And so what I want to help people do is find out, what do you need to do to be able to set those boundaries in place, get a ton of stuff done while you're working on it, and then walk away. Yes, we'll talk about blogging systems, but anybody that's building an email list, anybody that has an ideal avatar, you know, because we'll talk about open rates, you know, for your email list. It comes from knowing your avatar. Does that apply to people who aren't bloggers? Absolutely. Will we talk about Pinterest strategy? Yes. But in today's day and age, I actually think that Pinterest is a viable marketing strategy for anyone, not just a blogger.
Yeah.
So there will be a lot of overlap, but it might, you know, again, we talk about niching down to have the most successful business, and my niche is bloggers.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, so I think you've actually already answered just in talking, because one of the questions I have is, what was the biggest factor in growing your blog to, over 100,000 views a month? But I heard optimization for Google of your posts, SEO, and Pinterest. That's what I heard, right?
The other thing that I did that is not in there that actually I believe was instrumental. And this is, we talk, in my coaching programs, I differentiate very clearly between tactics and strategies. And knowing you, I'm sure you've talked about the same with your business. You know, there are long-term strategies, but sometimes there are those tactics that you try that just get you quick results, and they're not sustainable for the long term. And I didn't know at the time that this was a tactic. Like, I didn't know other people had done it. They call them like blogging sprints, where they might publish a post daily for 10 days or 14 days or 21 days. I went on an 88-day blogging sprint. I did a 90-day Bible reading challenge, and I released a blog every single day of the 88 days. It was a 90-day challenge, but there were 2 grace days. So every single day I put out a devotion. Did all of them rank on Google? Did I keyword research them? Actually, no, I didn't. Only like the 5 or 6 big ones that in my heart, I really felt like the Lord say, make sure this gets out there. And there were a few messages that were super important, and I'm still ranking on page 1 for those 3 years later.
Oh, wow.
But getting that much content out there was it was important for my blog, because Google knew it was relevant and it had fresh updates. But B, it disciplined me, and it taught me how to create content with more speed and processes. It helped me automate things in a way that I hadn't before. So as a blogger, it was incredibly life-changing for me to see what I could do with that goal, because I only had an hour and a half a day to put into this. So I was creating videos and posts and graphics and everything in that 90 minutes. So learning how to streamline my processes and get faster as time went on was really instrumental for me.
Okay. What is the biggest mistake that you see? I said new bloggers on my sheet, but what's the biggest mistake that you see new bloggers or any blogger make, whether or not there's a distinction there?
This is one that steps on a lot of people's toes, but honestly, it's thinking that people care about you.
Right?
No, nobody does. And everybody's like, well, I see these big bloggers. Okay, well, when you have 500,000 page views a month and you're making $10,000 to $20,000 a month from your blog, yes, I'm going to care about your life because I'm going to want to know what made it possible. But see, I'm not actually caring about your life. I'm wanting to know, can I replicate what you're doing? Yep. So it's that age old, what's in it for me question. So these people that write a post about, I don't know, dog grooming, and they start out telling me about their dog and their dog's playing in a mud puddle and how they didn't like the mess in their house. And that's why they learned this system. Doesn't appeal to me. I don't care. But if you tell me a story that puts me in it with you, then I care. So they need to learn how to tell a story. StoryBrand by Donald Miller is like the epic resource for that, right? But it's true because, you could pull me in with your story. And still tell it, but do it in a way that's said about your reader, not about yourself.
So that's for new or
that is like hands down, because people aren't going to read through your post, which means you're not going to make your ad income, so no one's going to see your ads, right? They're not going to hop around your site, so they're never going to get a chance to want to sign up for your list or buy what you're selling because you're not connecting with them. It's like meeting someone at a coffee shop and saying, hey, how's your day going? Making small talk, and them just literally vomiting their life onto you. And then you're like, okay, let me get my coffee and go get in my car.
Gotcha.
But then you meet someone who tells you this fascinating story and you can feel it. She's like, oh my gosh, my kids were sick and now everything is falling apart and I just needed my coffee. And you're like, girl, yes, we are going to be friends, right? And she's like, you know what I'm talking about? And in that, what I'm talking about, she's inviting you to interact with her and engage with her. Or she's like, you get it. I mean, what about you? And then you give a little and she gives a little, and you got this dialogue and this relationship forming. Well, because we don't have an actual person going like this with us in blogging, we forget that we still need to create that with our words. And that is where people often fail in gaining a loyal readership, but also in converting them to subscribers for their email list. And if you don't have a list, you're not going to make money.
Right. Yeah, it's like the single most important asset you could possibly have as a business today. So what are the 3 best pieces of advice that you would give to the bloggers in our group, no matter where they are on their journey?
Everything that you create should have a purpose. I think that's number 1. Whether it is to like, know, or trust, but it has to fit into one of those categories. Everything that you write should be researched for SEO, either on Google or Pinterest or both, but you need to have a way to promote it. And there are things that we write that might only get 500 views, and there are things that we write that'll get 500,000 views. Know what the expectations that are realistic for, and of course, always strive for more, but research it and present it accountable, like realistically, and be accountable to yourself for that, because it's so easy to say, my goal is to publish a new post this week, but not think about what is its purpose. And then you've just wasted time and real estate on your website. And then I would say that the third thing is know what your work boundaries are and walk away when time's up.
I'm such a huge fan of boundaries. I love it every time you say the word.
Jennifer is saying, it's the tech stuff that challenges me. When I go to Google Analytics, it says my website is not receiving hits. I don't even know what that means. You need to make sure that Google Analytics is installed properly. Grayson Bell of iMark Interactive LLC has a free blogging for WordPress course. He walks through everything in that. If you go through his free course, you get to join his free Facebook group, and he answers all the tech questions. Grayson is like my fairy godmother when it comes to tech, because I don't do tech. Grayson does tech and I follow his directions.
I think that's the thing that kind of blows me away about you the most, is that you've said that several times in conversation to me, that like, you're just not techie. And I'm sitting there going, but you know SEO, you understand. Like, to me, that's, I know it's not back end tech, I understand that, but to me, that's like above my pay grade. So when you say,
here's the thing, in Proverbs 31, there are two things that really leapt out at me a few years ago when I was writing my first Bible study on the chapter. And it says that she perceives that her work is profitable. And I knew that my work had to be profitable because that was why my husband was blessing my time on it, right? And number two, she had handmaids. And I was like, okay, Lord, I don't have a team. At the time, we lived below the poverty level, for goodness sake. My husband was working 3 jobs to keep me as a stay-at-home mom. I was literally just writing for it to be a ministry. But I didn't want to just write and have it go nowhere, right? So yes, Grace and Bell, iMark Interactive LLC, Jennifer. And so I decided I'm going to learn these things. And I realized then that my handmaids were like my Instant Pot, my upright Hoover vacuum made out of metal pieces that wasn't going to break every time I got a Lego or something that a kid had left out, like these tools. And so when I came to blogging, I came to it very logically and said, okay, well, I have these tools to make me a good homemaker. And they're what allow me to be more present with my kids. So I'm not spending like all day cooking. I can dump it all in the Instant Pot, right? What do I need to learn with blogging? What are the tools? So Pinterest was my shortcut to getting eyes on my blog. But I also use like key search. And at the time, Keywords Everywhere was a free tool. And there were other things that aren't out there now. There's different tools now than there were back then. But I used those tools and those resources that were available as simply as I could with my limited understanding. I did what I was capable of doing. And the mindset trap that we all fall into is we look at someone like Rachel Miller and we go, I can't do that on Facebook, so I might as well not do anything on Facebook. Or we look at someone like Grace and Bell and go, I'm not that tech savvy, so I shouldn't learn anything. Or someone like Jennifer Maker, who makes 6 figures plus a month from her blog and her YouTube channel, and go, well, I can't do that, so I might as well never get started. And that comparison, which the Bible tells us, is not what we're created for. We're created with a unique purpose and a unique set of giftings, right?
Yep.
God created good works for me beforehand. I'm his workmanship made in his image, not theirs, right? Yep. So if I apply those same principles and I look at what a virtuous woman does, then I do my best in the stage where I'm at. And so what I've done over the last, 14 years of blogging is I've learned one thing at a time. One of the best things I ever heard was from Bjork and Lindsay from Pinch of Yum, and I've read it again from James Clear with Atomic Habits. You become 1% better every day. That's it, 1% better every day. So all of a sudden the pressure's off. And so, I'm not tech savvy. I know that that is my weakness, and I will procrastinate for weeks to fix something that's technologically challenging to me. But I can learn one new thing. I can learn how to plug in Yoast and put my keyword in it. I can learn how to find a keyword. I can learn to do competitor research or funnel hack. I can learn these things a little at a time. And I started out by doing it, scheduling 20 minutes of my kids' nap time every afternoon to learn one new thing. And that was it.
So 20 minutes a day and just one new thing in that 20 minutes is what was your goal?
That was it. That was my goal. I took every free course I could find. I read, the Moz website has I think it was like 400 pages when I printed it out, but a free ebook on SEO. And I printed it out and I literally read for 20 minutes every day, highlighted, took notes. And if I had questions, I would write the questions down on a sheet of paper. And the next day I would Google the questions to find the answers instead of moving on.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you want to share? Here's what I want. And I really
go for it. What do you want?
I should have probably said this at the beginning because I don't know that everybody, I know Jennifer's been hanging in with us like the whole way through. But I don't know, some people will just watch the beginning and decide, oh, maybe I don't need to watch this. I'm not a blogger or whatever. So the thing is that I think everybody in this group, because of the nature of what we do, like you said, we don't have anybody in here, not that I'm aware of, it's MLM. I always tell people, if you're MLM, I'm not for you. Like, because it's a totally different animal. Like let me tell you, at one time in my life, I've been through probably every MLM that you possibly could have, because having all of us as serial entrepreneurs down that road. Yeah. So I have plenty of love, and I love my Pampered Chef, and, I buy my Melaleuca cleaning products and all of that. But we don't have MLM. Everybody fits kind of what you're talking about. And I think that everybody would benefit from learning about the productivity styles and how to customize their business processes according to their own productivity style. So I'm really super excited to send people your way for that when it's ready. I know it's not ready yet. But in the meantime, where can they find you? What can you do to help them? Other than this that's coming with the group coaching, do you only do the one-on-one work? Like, what would you want us to know about your business and how it can help the people in this group?
Right now, I'm giving away a lot of the information for free just because I'm so excited to talk about it. It was like, oh my gosh, I just have to start sharing because I geek out over this stuff, and I'm like, oh, let me find my tribe of people who geek out over it too. So I'm on Instagram at Coffee and Keyboard Co. Same on Facebook, and I have a Coffee and Keyboard group on Facebook that's linked to the page, and you can just come in there, and every time someone asks a question, I try to do a live answer, and that way we can build up a library of video resources that are incredibly applicable to where you are. I have, I don't know, probably because I'm a super geeky planner, I have about 18 months of content mapped out with everything from SEO to how to run an email challenge, which is a fantastic way to build your list and attract the right people, to writing a sales page, because that's an incredibly essential skill if you're going to sell a product.
Isn't it though?
Let's see, I'm looking at my list of all the stuff I have planned. I mean, like everything that a blogger goes through. I want to talk, I love Pinterest. Pinterest is my BFF. And I want to talk about that a lot because people get so emotional and they chase the tactics and they work, but then they stop working. But the strategies, like I have never changed my Pinterest system. Literally have been doing Pinterest the same way since I started using it for success, other than adding Tailwind. But Tailwind does what I tell it to do, and it follows my same system. And everyone's like, well, how is that possible? And I'm like, I listen. Every time Pinterest says something, I do what they tell me. And just like they're like a parent rewarding an obedient kid. Oh, here's more page views. It's really simple. And so it doesn't have to be emotional. It doesn't have to be complex. But people make it that way because they've heard all the things from all these systems. And these people want to sell you $200 and $300 and $400 courses. And I'm like sitting here trying to get enough screenshots from newer accounts because my account is so established that it's not really a good thing to show a new person.
Right.
So I'm working with some new bloggers to go into their back ends and take pictures so that I can say, here's how you do it. It's like this easy. And so I guess I would say as a blogger, don't get caught up in listening to all the experts because they're trying to convert you. And I know that sounds ironic because I have a program too, but it's pick your mentors. You can't listen to everybody. I mean, look at it right now. B School is launching. And I don't know about you, but I have like 30 or 40 emails a day in my inbox right now from people affiliating for B School and offering their bonuses and trying to convert me. But here's the thing, I don't need B School. So you know what I did? I unsubscribed from every one of those lists that had a shut B School off option. And I just deleted the rest without opening them. That delete tool is powerful. Pick your mentors, follow them, and shut all the other voices out. Pick one mentor for each area that you're studying and only study one or two areas at a time.
Yeah, no, I think that like what you just talked about really was like the whole purpose of the founding of Stewards, because I feel like there's so many voices and so many people get sucked in by all of them and they don't know who to follow. And it's like, no, look, come back. First of all, as you're judging who you should follow, here's your measure. How do they measure up against scripture? And that's not to say that they're all Christian. They're not. But if they're teaching things that are so blatantly against Christian principles, then you need to ignore them altogether. And not everybody.
There are some really big bloggers that talk about the fact that their husbands were not on board with their business and they hired mother's helpers and they missed a couple of years of their kids' lives, but that's okay because they put in those 60-hour work weeks for a year or two and now they get to live the life of their dreams. My husband and I decided right from the get-go, first of all, I submit to God and then him. So I was never okay doing anything he wouldn't bless, but we were also not okay sacrificing time with our kids. So we were okay with a slower growth trajectory. And a lot of people don't talk about that. So anytime you pick a mentor, the first thing I would say is look at their life. Is it a life you want to emulate? Is it a life that you will be proud to point at and say to your kids, I follow their lead? Because there are people that say, take the meat, spit out the bones. I don't buy that because you can't get good fruit from a rotten tree. It looks pretty. But there is going to be someone else out there teaching you in a way that doesn't violate your principles.
I agree. I want to make a distinction because when I say we can learn from anybody, I do believe that we can, right? Um, but
Well,
that it's
yeah,
better.
you can always tailor that learning experience. But I mean, when you're picking your mentors, like
Right,
Rachel
right.
Miller for
When you,
Facebook or
right,
something,
exactly.
you can look at Rachel Miller and you can admire her as a human being who's there for her kids, who creates a business. You're not following somebody who says, you know what, the heck with your family, the heck with this. This is your
Right,
dream. Follow your heart. Because there are a lot of business owners out there, or people who talk about manifesting and law of attraction in ways that are wholly contradictory to scripture.
right.
Don't follow them and go, well, I can take some of what they say.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so I got you. I just wanted to make that distinction. So, you're talking specifically about who we allow to actually speak into our lives and follow, not,
Because
oh,
if
I
you're
might
not
learn.
paying, yeah, if
Mhm.
you're not hiring a one-on-one coach, I mean, like I would consider Stu McLaren one of my mentors, even though he doesn't know
Yes,
my name,
right.
right? My name's on a sticky post-it note on his
Yep,
wall, but he doesn't know me. But
right.
he's one of my mentors. But I am proud to tell my children I follow what Stu McLaren says
Yeah,
and
yeah,
look at his life.
yeah. That's how I feel about him and Rachel Miller both.
Yeah.
But yet, and then sometimes, we're getting a little bit off track here, but then sometimes they, like right now, they're both promoting the Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Russell Brunson thing, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, nope, I can't. Nope, 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 nope.
Well, we
Because
have to understand that everybody has their own judgment standard. But when
yes,
you look at them overall, because I'm sure there'll come a time when you and I disagree over something, but
I'm
we agree
sure.
on Christ crucified and
Right.
we can support each other as sisters in Christ. But I'm talking those big those big voices. Because what happens, because you tell someone niche down, follow them, right? And then they start planting these other seeds in there. And that's dangerous. So
Yeah.
for instance, I like Mira Kaufman. She talks email strategy all day long. She has a very expensive course. I'm not sure that I'll promote it now that it's as expensive as it is. But right from the beginning, I have followed Mira and I have learned a lot from her. And I owe a lot of my early success to her email trainings. And I have no clue what her personal belief system is, but I know that she honors family time and I know that she believes in being simple, straightforward, honest, and she doesn't do tactics. And I really like that about her.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that she's putting into my mind that will encourage me to violate the standards that I have created my boundaries with.
And that is exactly what you just said, is exactly why I stay away from, and I tell, because somebody actually messaged me about the Tony Robbins thing and said, do I need to pay attention to this? And I said, no. Because while I do teach that we can learn from everybody, it's like you said, there are certain people that if you allow them to become a voice, they plant seeds that are very, very dangerous. And I think that Tony Robbins falls into that category. So
I see. I don't know him well enough to know that, but it just something doesn't resonate there. So I'm just not
yeah,
there.
yeah, I gotcha. Well, I could probably talk to you all day, but we both have boundaries on our time, right? So, is there anything else that you just want to leave us with? I do want to encourage you, whatever links you want to drop for people, please do that. And you're going to have a Pinterest specific thing coming out or no?
Yeah, I'm working on a Pinterest workshop right now,
Okay.
answering questions. Unfortunately, because they changed some stuff, I had to go back and rephrase to specifically answer the questions. You did mention wanting me to touch on Pinterest, so we're at the 48-minute mark. If anybody wants, if you want to bookmark it so people can skip to it,
Okay.
here's what I'm going to say. There's a lot of hoopla about Pinterest right now, and people getting freaked out about having to turn out new content because Pinterest is prioritizing new content. But new content does not mean new posts every day. It means new pin images with new pin titles and new descriptions for the same old URL. So you can have 6 unique pins going to the same post. Do not get lazy and just change one word or one color. Actually create 6 unique pins. Again, why I templatize? Because that makes it easy, right? And change up how you do your keyword research and put it out there. Do not let fear or overwhelm of people getting all worked up stop you from making progress with your business if Pinterest is an essential part of your strategy. It's really that simple. It is that simple, but also don't spam all 5 of those pins out on the same day. Kind of spread them out. Be mindful of the user experience and people encountering you on Pinterest.
And you can get your Pinterest template package for $17, which is like,
yeah, it's got 28 templates into it. And as I create new ones, I just add them onto the end and you get an update from Sendowl.
That's awesome. That's
And
awesome.
I added samples to it so people can see how I work with the same picture, stuff like that. It's just really easy to do. And I hear all of this stuff about, oh my gosh, limits and images and it's going to be hours and hours. I got to tell you, I've rolled out about 25 new pins this week, and it took me less than an hour to create them all.
That's awesome. That
So
sounds far less intimidating. Not that I spend any time on Pinterest anymore. The time might come when I have to. So, but that guys, for $17, seriously, just if you're on Pinterest at all, just go get the template package. Because I hear you say things like when they talk about the new pins, like meaningful crops is something I've heard you say a lot. So it's really all about tailoring the image and changing the perspective, and like if you just buy her templates, like it's all done for you, and then just throw your image and your text in there and you're done.
it really is simple. And so anybody, and Heather, as you create this new project that you've shared with me that you're working on, I will get on you and go, we can have a Pinterest strategy for that, and we can set it up in 30 minutes a month. That's all it'll take.
We need one. We need one.
And then
that's where our people are.
I go on my phone on my Pinterest app every morning when I'm done with my morning coffee, and I live pin using their suggestions, 5 minutes a day, and that's all it takes. And they love me because of it.
5 minutes a day?
Yeah, because I schedule everything out in Tailwind, and then I'll show you. Like I haven't done my when you open up your Pinterest app, can you is that okay? So across the top right here, before you open right here, it actually gives you board names that you're on. So you can tap the board name and it tailors your feed to suggest pins for that board. And I'll just pin 1 or 2 pins for each of the suggested boards that they give me. And that's my live pinning for the day.
Oh, wow.
And Pinterest likes me using Pinterest as a user. They like me respecting their platform and not just making money from it.
Yeah.
So that's how I use it as a user, and keep it super simple. And then Tailwind is my pins and my tribe pins. And I go in 15, 20 minutes a week max into Tailwind.
It's like I always tell people, we have these free tools that are available to us in the form of Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, right? Whatever. I don't put Twitter on there because I think Twitter's useless. But anyway, but you know what? It's not our sandbox. And if we want to play in the sandbox and we want to get the benefit of being in the circle that's in the sandbox, we have to play by their rules. So
that's it. It's doing what they say in their way, but it's not oppressive. Part of that is mindset. It's being thankful for those tools and those opportunities and those platforms instead of resenting them and being entitled towards them.
And boy, we do resent Facebook. So, well, maybe you don't. There are days that some of us in this group have definitely resented Facebook. I am still grateful for what it offers. I am not a fan of their self-imposed moral authority police attitude.
Well, yeah, and that's why I'm not on Facebook very much, and that's why I built my list with Google and Pinterest. So, we all pick and choose where we play the most.
Yeah.
But I love your Facebook group.
It's thank you. It's so encouraging though to hear you say all this though, because the thing is, especially I think that famously, even though I understand that they own Instagram, and I haven't played enough on Instagram yet to understand all of it. I'm learning a lot about it right now. But we all have this fear of when Facebook comes along and does something arbitrary, what's that going to do to our business? And I've always said, listen, you do not build real estate on land you don't own. You have to have some other platform. And so to say that and understand that is one thing, but to know how to effectively do it and believe that you can still maintain viability as a business without it, sometimes there's a disconnect there, right?
But so the money is in the list. The power is in the list. You own your email list. You own nothing else in your business. So yes, you get those people on there, but you always make sure. And my business coach does this super well. She has built her whole business on Facebook. And I'm like, girlfriend, that's like scary, right? Yeah. And she's like, no, because to get my printables, so she does the teaching, but she has a workshop, right? Or a worksheet rather that goes with it. You have to get it via email. She doesn't share a link to a Google Doc. She emails you the link. So if everything went away tomorrow, anyone that's taken her stuff is on her email list because we all want the printables that go with the trainings.
Gotcha. That's
good. So, worst case scenario, and she could do it on Zoom, or she could do it in Google Hangouts, or Google has a classroom. Did you know that Google Classroom is a thing?
No.
I just learned that. I took a course that was done in Google Classroom this week. I had no clue. Learning something new at my age. Very neat. Awesome. But that list is your authority. So, every one of us should be on your list. And the way you could optimize it to grow your list, even in Stewards, is to say, hey, I will send out our weekly agendas via email. I will send out our tip sheets via email.
Or there's sometimes that I've done like summary takeaways for people who don't have an hour to watch this full thing. Email.
That is not available in the group. That only goes to my list. And that's how you build your list. And so for Graceful Abandon, I send content that is not on my blog to my email list.
Wow. You have been so amazing today. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your time with us. And please, please, please make sure to let us know. Like, you don't even need to come ask me. As soon as your stuff drops, please share the links in the group. Let us know when your Pinterest stuff is ready. I think that everybody here could benefit from that, and the productivity style and your approach to systems and processes. I absolutely love it. And I love that I can trust you in all the other ways and not feel, I know that I can just send my people to you and they're never going to hear anything that's like off base from a scriptural perspective. So that's like such a huge comfort. Just thank you so much. I appreciate everything that you've done and all your time today.
Thank you, Heather. Take care. If anybody has questions, drop them later. And I'm in a different time zone than y'all, but I'll come answer them as I'm able this weekend.
Make sure you tag her so that she will see them when she's able to get back on. Okay. All right. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.